In Genesis 1:26, when God says, "Let us make humanity, humankind, in our own image," what did the earliest readers of this text in Genesis understand about this? Well, the earliest readers would not have read a Trinitarian theology into this. They just would not have, because number one, this was written hundreds and hundreds of years before Jesus was even around. So there was no even thought or even an idea of the fact that we even needed something like the Trinity around. So the earliest readers, if the text of Genesis was written anywhere between 800, 900 BCE to like 600, 500, somewhere around there, somewhere in that time frame, if it was written there, then the earliest readers would have been Hebrew people, Jewish people, who were wrestling with what this idea of the image of God is and all this kind of stuff. But they would have read it very differently. They would have probably have read it through the eyes and the lens of a divine council theology. I don't think I would go as far as to say that they read it through a pantheon theology. I don't think that's true. I think they would have read it through a divine council theology, though, where God has a divine council and there are divine beings around him, but he is still God. And they are not God. They are some other kind of divine beings. And so when he says, "let us," he's talking to this divine council that we find, traces of throughout the Hebrew Bible. And so this is what was likely in the mind of the author as they're writing. This is what is likely in the mind of the very earliest readers of these texts. It would not be renegotiated as any kind of a Trinitarian idea until much later. Jesus comes on the scene. The New Testament authors begin arguing the divinity of Jesus, and they have to wrestle and grapple with that. Finally, we get to arguments over what does this divinity of Jesus mean? Is he like the substance of the Father, the same like that? Or is he the same substance of the Father? Homoiousios or homoiousios? And homoiousios or homoousios? And there's the argument there. It comes to 325, where they have to convene the Council of Nicaea to talk about the divinity of Jesus. What does it mean that Jesus is divine? What does that mean? Is he the same substance of the Father? Is he different? And then we're going to have the Arian controversy, all that kind of stuff going on, and the heresies. But that was way after the fact. The earliest readers of Genesis would have seen this as divine council theology.